There are nights when you pray, but heaven feels silent. You ask God for an answer, but all you hear is the sound of your own heart growing tired. You try to believe. You try to stay strong. You try to tell yourself that God is still working, but somewhere deep inside, a question begins to rise. When? God, why not now? Have you forgotten me? And maybe you have whispered those words more times than you want to admit. Maybe you have prayed over the same situation until you no longer knew what else to say. Maybe you have watched other people receive the very thing you are still waiting for. Their doors opened. Their prayers seemed answered. Their lives appeared to move forward. But you stayed in the same place, still waiting, still hoping, still trying to understand why God has not moved the way you thought he would. But listen closely. Your waiting is not proof that God has abandoned you. Your delay is not evidence that heaven has turned away. The fact that you have not seen the answer yet does not mean God has stopped caring, stopped listening, or stopped preparing what he has spoken over your life. The delay is not denial. The pause is not punishment. And the silence is not absence. That truth may be hard to hold when your heart is weary. It may be difficult to believe when the door has stayed closed longer than you expected. But the silence of God is not the same as the absence of God. Sometimes, the deepest work of heaven happens in seasons where nothing seems to be happening at all. You may think you are stuck, but God may be shaping you. You may think nothing is moving, but God may be building roots beneath the surface of your life. You may think the weight is empty, but God may be filling hidden places in your soul with strength, patience, wisdom, and surrender. Because God does not only prepare blessings for people, he prepares people for blessings. And this is where many hearts struggle. We ask God for the promise, but he begins with the preparation. We ask him to open the door, but he first strengthens the hands that will carry what waits on the other side. We ask him to change the situation, but he starts by changing the heart that is walking through it. That can feel painful. It can feel slow. It can feel unfair. But God is not careless with your life. He is not delaying you because he enjoys watching you suffer. He is not making you wait because your prayers are meaningless. He is working with a wisdom deeper than your understanding and a love stronger than your fear. There are things God can only form in the waiting. Trust is not born when everything is easy. Faith does not grow deep when every answer comes immediately. Surrender is not tested when you are still in control. The waiting season reveals what your heart is holding on to. It shows where fear still speaks loudly. It uncovers the places where you have been trusting your timeline more than God's hand. And yet, even there, God is gentle. He does not expose those places to shame you. He reveals them to heal you. He allows the waiting to slow you down, not to destroy your hope, but to teach your hope where to rest. Not in the date, not in the outcome, not in the visible sign, but in him. Maybe you have been asking God to hurry. Maybe your prayer has been, Lord, just let it happen. But what if God is answering with something deeper? What if he is saying, my child, I am not only bringing something to you, I am doing something within you. That does not make the waiting easy, but it gives it meaning. You are not forgotten in this season. You are not invisible to heaven. You are not behind because someone else arrived before you. God sees the prayers you never posted. He sees the tears no one else noticed. He sees the quiet battles you fought while still trying to smile. And he is still near. So, do not measure God's faithfulness by how fast the answer comes. Do not judge his love by the length of the delay. Sometimes the very season you wish would end quickly is the season God is using to build something eternal inside you. Hold on. Not because the wait is easy, not because you understand everything, but because the God who holds your future has not released his hold on you. But before you can understand why God is making you wait, you must first see what he is building inside you. You may feel like nothing is happening. You may look at your life and wonder why the door has not opened, why the answer has not come, why the promise still feels so far away. You may wake up each morning carrying the same prayer, the same burden, the same quiet ache in your heart. And because nothing around you seems to be changing, you begin to believe that you are standing still. But what if you are not standing still at all? What if, beneath the surface, God is doing a work so deep that it cannot yet be seen? What if the waiting season is not a place of abandonment, but a place of formation? What if God is not holding you back because he has forgotten you, but because he is shaping you for what your heart has been asking him to release? There are seasons when God does not move the situation first. He moves within the soul. He strengthens what has grown weak. He softens what has become hardened by disappointment. He exposes the fears that have been hiding underneath your prayers. He teaches you how to trust him, not only when the answer is visible, but when all you have is his word. That kind of trust is not shallow. It is not built in moments of comfort. It is formed in the long, quiet places where your feelings keep asking for proof, but your spirit keeps choosing faith. Psalm 14 says, "Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." This is not a gentle suggestion for people who have nothing else to do. It is a holy instruction for hearts that are tired, stretched, and tempted to give up. God tells you to wait, not because waiting is easy, but because waiting requires strength. He says, "Be strong," because he knows the waiting will test the places inside you that still want control. He says, "Take heart," because he knows discouragement will try to speak louder than his promise. But the command is not just to wait. It is to wait for the Lord. That changes everything. You are not waiting for luck. You are not waiting for random circumstances to align. You are not waiting for people to finally notice you, choose you, approve you, or open the right door for you. You are waiting for the Lord, the one who sees the end from the beginning, the one who knows what your heart can carry, the one who prepares both the promise and the person who will receive it. And while you wait, he is not wasting a single moment. Think of a seed buried in the ground. From the outside, it looks forgotten. No one sees its movement. No one celebrates its growth. No one applauds what is happening in the dark. But beneath the soil, something sacred is taking place. Roots are reaching. Strength is forming. Life is preparing to rise. The seed does not break the ground the day it is planted. If it did, it would not be strong enough to stand. It must first grow downward before it can grow upward. It must first be hidden before it can be revealed. And maybe that is what God is doing with you. You have been asking him to lift you higher, but he has been growing your roots deeper. You have been asking him to bring the promise into the light, but he has been forming the strength that will keep you standing when the promise comes. You have been asking for the next season, but he has been preparing your heart so the next season does not overwhelm you. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Not they that force, not they that panic, not they that run ahead, not they that surrender to despair. They that wait." There is strength found in waiting when the waiting is placed in God's hands. It is not the strength of pretending you are fine. It is not the strength of hiding your tears. It is the strength that comes when you say, Lord, I do not understand this season, but I trust you inside it. And slowly, quietly, God renews you. He renews your courage when you thought fear had taken over. He renews your hope when disappointment tried to bury it. He renews your faith when silence made you wonder if prayer still mattered. So do not despise the hidden season. Do not curse the soil where God is growing your roots. Do not call yourself forgotten when heaven is forming you in secret. You are being prepared, not punished. And when the appointed time comes, you will not only receive what you have been waiting for, you will have the faith, the wisdom, and the strength to carry it well. And when you finally see waiting as preparation, you will begin to understand why patience is not weakness. Patience is not weakness. It is not surrendering because you have no strength left. It is not sitting in silence while life passes you by. It is not pretending that the waiting does not hurt, or acting like your heart has no questions. Real patience is much deeper than that. Real patience is the strength to remain faithful when everything inside you wants to run ahead. It is the courage to trust God when your emotions are begging for control. It is the quiet decision to stay under His hand, even when you do not yet understand what His hand is doing. The world does not understand this kind of patience. The world tells you to move faster, push harder, grab what you want, and prove that you are not behind. It tells you that waiting means losing. It tells you that if you do not force the door open, someone else will walk through it before you. But the kingdom of God does not move by panic. God does not form His people through pressure from the world. He forms them by His Spirit. He teaches them to stand when others rush. He teaches them to listen when others react. He teaches them to trust when every visible sign says, "Do something now." That is why patience cannot be produced by human effort alone. You cannot simply force yourself to be patient in the deepest places of the soul. You can stay quiet on the outside and still be full of fear on the inside. You can smile in front of people and still be wrestling with God in secret. True patience is not just behavior. It is fruit. Galatians pet 22-23 says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience." Patience is something the Spirit grows in you. It is not a formula you memorize. It is not a mask you wear. It is the evidence that God is doing a living work inside your heart. And fruit does not grow overnight. It grows slowly, quietly, season by season. It grows through rain, through heat, through pruning, through days when nothing appears to be changing. And in the same way, spiritual patience grows through seasons where your faith is stretched beyond what feels comfortable. You may have thought patience meant waiting calmly, but biblical patience is stronger than calmness. It is endurance. It is faith that has been tested and still chooses to hold on. It is the kind of strength that says, "I will not run ahead of God just because I am afraid He is taking too long." That kind of patience protects you, because impatience often opens doors that God never asked you to enter. Impatience can make a counterfeit look like an answer. It can make temporary relief feel like destiny. It can make you accept less than what God intended, simply because you were tired of waiting. And God loves you too much to let desperation lead you into something that would damage your soul. So He teaches you patience, not to punish you, not to delay your joy, not to keep good things away from you, but to prepare you to receive what is right without being destroyed by what is premature. James 1:4 says, "Let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." That verse reveals something powerful. Patience is not empty. Patience has work to do. It works on your character. It works on your motives. It works on your fears. It works on the places where your faith is still tied to outcomes instead of anchored in God Himself. Patience matures you. It makes you whole in places where rushing would have left you broken. It teaches you how to carry the promise without worshiping the promise. It teaches you how to receive the blessing without making the blessing your identity. Because God is not only concerned with what you are asking for, He is concerned with who you are becoming. You may be praying for the breakthrough, but God is forming the person who will stand after the breakthrough comes. You may be asking for the open door, but God is strengthening the heart that will walk through it. You may be asking for the answer, but God is deepening the trust that will keep you close to Him even after the answer arrives. So do not call this season wasted. Do not think that because you are waiting, you are weak. The very fact that you are still trusting, still praying, still choosing not to give up, is evidence that God is building endurance in you. Patience is not passive. It is spiritual resistance against fear. It is worship when the promise has not arrived. It is obedience when emotions are loud. It is faith standing firm in the quiet place, believing that God's hand is still faithful even when His timing is still hidden. And when patience becomes your weapon, the weight no longer owns you. You may still feel tired. You may still have questions, but you are no longer ruled by panic. You are being held by trust. But even when patience becomes your weapon, the hardest question remains. How do you keep trusting when you do not know how long the battle will last? There comes a point in the waiting where your heart does not only ask if God will answer. It asks when. When will it happen? When will the door open? When will the prayer finally become a testimony? When will this season end? And those questions do not always come from doubt. Sometimes they come from exhaustion. Sometimes they come from a heart that has been faithful for so long, but is tired of waking up to the same uncertainty. You are not asking because you want to abandon God. You are asking because you are trying to understand His pace. But God's timing does not move according to human pressure. He is not hurried by your fear. He is not confused by your deadline. He is not late because you cannot yet see the outcome. What feels like delay to you may be protection from Him. What feels like a closed door may be mercy. What feels like silence may be wisdom working in places you cannot reach. God sees what you cannot see. He sees the hidden danger behind the opportunity you begged Him to open. He sees the weight of a relationship, a position, a calling, or a blessing before you ever step into it. He knows what would build you, and He knows what would break you. And because He loves you, He will not release something into your hands before your soul is ready to carry it. That is difficult to accept when you are tired. Because, when we are weary, even the wrong door can look like relief. A counterfeit can look like an answer. A shortcut can feel like mercy. The heart can become so desperate for movement that it stops asking whether the movement is from God. But the Lord is not only committed to giving. He is committed to guiding. He does not simply want you to arrive somewhere. He wants you to arrive whole. He wants you to walk into the next season with peace. Not panic. With discernment. Not desperation. With faith. Not fear. And sometimes, the only way to protect that future is to slow you down in the present. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." That means your life is not random. This waiting season has a purpose. This quiet place has a purpose. This closed door has a purpose. This uncomfortable pause has a purpose. You may not understand it yet, but heaven has not lost the calendar of your life. There is a time to sow. And there is a time to reap. There is a time to be hidden. And there is a time to be revealed. There is a time to be pruned. And there is a time to bear fruit. But if you try to reap in a season where God is still planting, you may pull up what He intended to grow. That is why trusting God's timing requires surrender. Not the kind of surrender that says you no longer care. Not the kind that gives up in bitterness. But the kind that places the clock back into God's hands and says, Lord, I still desire it. I still pray for it. I still hope for it. But I will not let my timeline become greater than my trust in you. That kind of surrender brings peace. Not because every question disappears, but because your heart is no longer carrying the weight of controlling the answer. You stop living as though everything depends on your ability to make it happen. You begin to rest in the truth that God is faithful enough to bring the right thing, in the right way, at the right time. And when His timing finally unfolds, you will understand why He did not rush. You will look back and see that what felt like delay was preparation. What felt like rejection was redirection. What felt like silence was God teaching your heart to listen more deeply. You will realize that He was not withholding goodness from you. He was making sure that when the goodness came, it would not destroy the work He had already done within you. So, do not measure your life by someone else's season. Do not call yourself behind because another person arrived first. Do not let comparison convince you that God has forgotten your name. The same God who is writing their story is still writing yours. And He is wise enough not to copy someone else's timeline and place it over your life. You are not late. You are being led. And the safest place you can be is not ahead of God, but with God. So, instead of only asking, when will it happen? Begin asking, what is God preparing in me until it does? That question will steady your heart. It will turn waiting into worship. It will turn delay into discipleship. It will teach you to trust not only the promise of God, but the wisdom of the one who knows exactly when to bring it to pass. And once you surrender your timeline, God begins to deal with something even deeper than your schedule. He begins to transform your heart. There is a kind of work God does in the waiting that you may not recognize until later. At first, all you can see is what has not happened. The prayer has not been answered. The door has not opened. The promise has not arrived. The situation has not changed in the way you hoped it would. But while your eyes are fixed on what is still missing, God is quietly working on what is still forming. He is working in your heart. And that work is often deeper than the answer you are asking for. Because sometimes, the greatest gift God gives in a waiting season is not the thing you wanted Him to bring. Sometimes, the greatest gift is the person He is helping you become while you wait. Waiting has a way of revealing what is inside us. It reveals where our trust is strong and where it is still fragile. It reveals what we have been leaning on. It reveals whether we love God only when He gives quickly, or whether we can still love Him when His answer takes time. That is not an easy lesson. It can hurt when the silence is long. It can feel heavy when you have prayed with all your heart and still do not see movement. But in that hidden place, God teaches you something that victory alone could never teach you. He teaches you to know Him, not just His hand, not just His blessings, not just His open doors, but His heart. There is a difference between loving God for what He can do and trusting God for who He is. The waiting season brings that difference to the surface. It asks your soul a quiet question. Will you still worship when you do not yet have what you asked for? And when your answer becomes yes, even through tears, something holy begins to grow. Romans 5:3-4 says, "We glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. There is a sacred progression in that verse. Pain does not have the final word. Tribulation produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character. Character produces hope. God does not waste the pressure. He uses it to form endurance in places where your strength once felt thin. And hope that is formed in waiting is different from shallow optimism. It is not hope that depends on everything looking easy. It is hope that has been tested in the dark and still believes God is faithful. It is hope that has learned how to breathe in the silence. It is hope that says, I do not see the answer yet, but I still know the one who holds it. That kind of hope becomes steady. It becomes rooted. It becomes difficult for the enemy to shake, because it is no longer built on quick results. It is built on the character of God. Lamentation 3:25-26 says, The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should hope and wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. That does not mean the waiting always feels pleasant. It means the waiting can become profitable in the hands of God. It can produce something eternal. It can teach you humility, because you learn that you are not in control. It can teach you gratitude, because you begin to notice small mercies you once overlooked. It can teach you surrender, because you stop demanding that God follow your timeline. And slowly, your prayer begins to change. At first, you may pray, God, change this situation. But after God has worked deeply in you, your prayer becomes, God, change me in this situation. That is not weakness. That is maturity. It means your faith is no longer only reaching for relief. It is reaching for God Himself. Maybe this has been your silent season. No applause. No clear progress. No public confirmation. Just quiet obedience. Hidden tears. And daily decisions to keep trusting. But do not underestimate what God is doing in that hidden place. He is teaching you to hear His voice above your fear. He is teaching you to worship without needing everything to make sense. He is teaching you to stand when your feelings want to collapse. And one day, you may look back on this season and realize that it did not destroy you. It deepened you. It stripped away what could not carry you and brought you closer to the only one who could. You are not just passing time. You are being purified. You are being strengthened. You are being shaped into someone who can carry the weight of God's promises with a humble heart and steady faith. And when the silence feels the heaviest, that may be the very place where God is closer than you have ever known. And now, after all the silence, after all the questions, after all the nights when you wondered if God still heard you, there is one truth your heart must hold on to. God does not forget the ones who wait for Him. You may feel tired, but your faith has not been wasted. You may feel unseen, but heaven has not overlooked your obedience. Every prayer whispered through tears. Every moment, you chose trust over fear. Every day, you kept walking when your heart wanted to quit. God saw it all. Hebrews 10:36 says, You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. That means perseverance has a purpose. Waiting is not empty space between prayer and answer. It is the place where God teaches your soul how to remain faithful until the promise is ready to be received. And when God fulfills what He has spoken, He does not bring it late. He brings it with wisdom. He brings it with peace. He brings it when your heart has been shaped enough to carry what your hands have been praying to hold. Isaiah 30:18 says, Yet the Lord longs to be gracious to you. Therefore, He will rise up to show you compassion. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait for him. Blessed are all who wait for him. Not forgotten, not rejected, not abandoned. Blessed. The waiting may have felt like loss, but in God's hands, it has been preparation. The silence may have felt unbearable, but in that silence, he was teaching you to recognize his voice. The delay may have broken your expectations, but it did not break his promise. Habakkuk 3 says, though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. So do not give up at the edge of fulfillment. Do not walk away because the process has taken longer than you expected. The promise of God is not weakened by time. If he has spoken, he is faithful to perform what belongs to his will. Hebrews 6:15 says, and so, after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise. After he endured, there is something God releases after endurance that cannot be carried by impatience. Premature blessings can become heavy burdens, but what comes in God's timing comes with grace to sustain it. He does not only prepare the promise, he prepares you. And now, this is no longer only something to understand. It is something to surrender. So take this moment slowly. Let your heart become quiet before God. Release the timeline. Release the fear. Release the need to control the outcome. And pray. God, I surrender. I surrender my timeline. I surrender my plans. I lay down my desire to control the outcome. You are God, and I am not. You see what I can't see. You know what I don't understand. So, today, I give you the weight I've carried, and I ask you to carry me. Father, I give you my pain. I give you the disappointment, the delay, the silence. I give you the tears I've cried behind closed doors. I give you the questions I've been afraid to ask. I give you the tired parts of me, the weary parts, the broken parts. Take them all, Lord, and in exchange, give me your peace. Wrap me in your love. Whisper truth over my chaos. I trust you with my wounds. God, I choose faith, even when I don't feel it. I declare it. I trust your timing. I trust your ways. I trust that you're working even in the waiting. My eyes may not see it, but my spirit believes it. You are not a man that you should lie. What you promised, you will perform. And I believe what's coming is worth the wait. Use this season to grow me, Lord, not just to give me what I want, but to make me who you've called me to be. Let patience do its perfect work. Let obedience rise in my spirit. Teach me to worship in the waiting, to serve while I'm still sowing, to walk in purpose even when the door is closed. I don't want easy. I want eternal. Make me ready. Remind me who I am. I am not forgot you. I'm not delayed. I'm not behind. I am chosen. I am deeply loved. I am being refined for something greater. I have the mind of Christ. I have the Spirit of God. I have destiny written over me, and no weight can erase that. O God, I speak over my season. I bless it. I bless the wait. I bless the silence, because you are using all of it for glory. Let peace rise in me like a river. Let joy return to my waiting. Let your presence be more than enough. I receive divine strength, supernatural peace, and the fresh outpouring of trust. I praise you in advance. Even before I see the answer, I will praise. Even before the door opens, I will worship. Even if I must wait longer, I'll wait well. Because I know you. You're faithful. You're good. And what you're bringing is going to be worth every single second. In Jesus' name. Amen. And as you place your waiting season back into God's hands, peace will begin where control finally ends.